Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another installment of the bi-weekly Q&A coaching call. You got Tim Harris and George Roddy here.
How's everybody doing?
So, there we go. So, funny story to start out with when everybody's typing their questions. Last week, got down to the closing table on a deal that little bitty house, 3-bedroom, 1-bath in Pleasant Grove. I put it under contract for $8,500, wholesaled it for $20,000, and got down to the closing table, and the buyer all of a sudden started harassing the closer that he wasn't going to pay the title policy. And if I remember correctly, I was at home that day getting ready to go on my fishing trip, and I was rather irritated. And it was actually, George, it was the first time I've ever yelled at someone on the phone and yelled the words, "Do you know who I am?" And
wow, you pulled that one, huh?
yeah, I pulled that one. I'm not going to say his name, but it's a guy that comes to a lot of the George Roddy meetings and asks a lot of questions.
Oh.
And
I know who that is.
they had already left closing, and because the closer couldn't get a hold of me, so the closer went ahead and was taking it out of her closing fees, and I made the investor buyer representative go back up there with another $296, and or I told him I was going to sell it to someone else the next day. So anyways, a real funny story. George, we'll have to talk about that over hot wings and cold beer one day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I told that person, I said, if there's anyone in town you want to piss off, I'm not the one. I'm not the one you want to.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
You have any funny stories from this week?
No. That house that I asked you to, that one over there. I can't remember. I followed up with her because basically, I went over there, walked the house, and it basically told, my gut was like 65, and I think you said the same thing. Mm-hmm. And, the guy said, really, I need 70, and I said, all right, let me sharpen my pencil. Let's get the deal done, and, I'll send it over to you tonight. And that was my first mistake, right, to not lock it up right then and there. Right. You can always, I was going to write up an option contract that gave me 7 days. So anyway, I felt like I had them, and then I called back that night, and I said, hey, I'm going to send it over to you. And she said, yeah, he's changed his mind. He just thinks 70 is just way too low. And so I said, all right, well, I'm getting feedback now. So anyway, that was a lesson learned. But what I knew is that this guy went out and tried to get some other, and people are making him lower than the 70. So, bottom line is I think I'm going to lock this one up for 70. And I just followed up, and it's a good rapport that I created with the mom that's moving into a convalescent home and the son. And so bottom line is, anytime that happens, and you know this, Tim, is just because someone else gets the deal doesn't mean until it closes, you really need to follow up with these people, because there's a lot of naysayers. There's a lot of people that say they'll do something, but they don't actually do it. And I think it's always in your best interest to keep the rapport and the line of communication open, and always be professional. Don't throw them under the bus and say, look, you're never going to get it. This guy's just jerking you around, because then they just want to resist, And so bottom line is I haven't gotten it, but I'm staying in contact, and, it's a numbers game. I hope that she can get more than 70, but at the end of the day, I think I'm going to be the best offer, and they like me.
Excellent. So on your screen here, you guys all see a house in North Dallas that I got the contract back on yesterday, and we sold it today. It's 2953 Townsend. It's about a 120 house with a pool. I think it's a 125, but you can't argue with comps. You see kind of my longhand repair list, which I haven't even done this. It's we came up with 21.9 long-handed. If I open up
the SOS,
yeah, let me see. What's that house?
Townsend.
Yeah, I hadn't even looked.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the square footage is. So it came in at it's 1364 square feet. So let's see. I haven't even done this math yet.
Now, Tim, do you use PDF 995 to save these? Yeah.
Yeah, I just put them all in Dropbox. That way I always have access to them. Let's see.
But I want you guys to see that, he's got look at all the PDFs that he creates, each file. So go ahead, Tim.
That comes in about $16 a foot when you're doing
for a 1959 house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and it's and the big adjustments on this one were it needed a little bit of foundation, but it also, we think it has a plumbing leak, so we added a $5,000 budget in there. So we teach you guys $4 a foot, which would be $5,200. So it's it's exactly the way we estimate it. We just do it a little bit different because of 1,000 houses. We're able to sharpen the pencil a little bit more. So, the point is, if you started at $10 a foot on this house, and you added in $2 a foot because only half the house needs foundation, and then you added in $4 a foot just to worry about the plumbing leak, and then we rounded down actually because most of the house has been updated and is in fairly good condition. The guy actually had the foundation repaired, but the problem is they never fixed the sewer leak. So, it came in at about $16 a foot, which is reasonable. Yeah, so these are all the PDFs you were talking about. Yeah,
CMA. Yeah, just walk through that. I think it's good for them. See how he's got it all. He basically has it under his directory, and everything is
inside Dropbox. I've got a working folder, which is where I keep the active properties I have, the closed, the dead, and then any other just miscellaneous properties I may be working on. They may be a rental or something like that. Actually, all these here in the working folder are houses that are active leads I have. They're not dead, they're not closed, they're not active yet. Active is everything that I have under contract that hadn't closed yet. So I just go into the Townsend folder, and there I've got my CMA, the full comps, the lease comps, the map of the comps, the tax rolls, and the contract. It's all nice and organized and easy to get to.
Yeah.
And like I said, I can pull it up on my phone if I'm out in the field and someone has a question about something. With Dropbox, you can email it from your phone if you need to.
Yeah.
So.
And what does Dropbox run?
Nothing. It's free up to 2 gigabytes of storage. Now, by virtue of my volume, I have more. I actually pay a little bit extra because I have a lot of data in my Dropbox, but I could just clean it out more, but I'm just a little lazy. So, that's my deal of the week. We sold it today for $70. We're going to try to close it next week. I'm not going to tell anyone what I paid for it because you'll get mad at me.
Uh, don't hate the player, hate the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's my deal of the week. I've got a bunch of postcards hitting the mail tomorrow, most likely, from the that'll be coming in from this month's postcards. I got them out a little bit late because I was on a fishing trip and didn't want to generate 40 phone calls while I was in South Padre having a good time. So, okay, just a reminder, if you have your hand up, that means that you would like me to unmute you. So I'm going to put everyone's hands down, but if you click on the button that says raise hand, that means that you're going to get unmuted, and I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to let you talk. So if you have a question, please try to type it, but I'll happily unmute you and let you talk.
Yeah, and everybody, you know, if we unmute you, then make sure that you have a microphone working, because it kind of works better.
And you don't have a kid in the background screaming.
Right. Yeah.
So you want to dive into some of these questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
So the first one, Chris asked, question regarding the SOS. Please look at this image. What are the itemized costs associated with the 2% holding soft cost? Taxes, insurance. Well, not taxes in this example. Utilities, yard, insurance.
Yeah. That's really it. I mean, utilities, that's going to run you, I mean, depending on a $74,000 property, you know, I mean, utilities, that's going to run you $100, and probably $100 for insurance, and then $400 for utilities, and then you got to mow. You know, nowadays you got to mow every week, or the city will get after you. So, you know, we're holding on to this. Or when Tim sold this house to me, I had to plan on holding it for 4 months, and that's really what it came up to. If you take $400 times 4, that's $1,600, and then I think it was, I don't know, we did 2%, so it might have been $300 times 4 is $1,200, and you got insurance for 4 months, that's $400, and insurance probably wouldn't cost me $100 a month. It'd probably be more like $75 a month. So that is 75 times 4 is $300, and then you've got mowing the lawn 8 times. That's going to run you another $200. So that's where we came up with the $1,800. We just kind of, as a general rule, you know, use 2%.
So on to Chris's next question. Let's see if I can zoom this in a little. Okay, it's a bad image. It's hard to look at, but in one of the FTC videos, you were having a hard time finding comps, so you went as far as 1.75 miles out. When you do this, the circle radius went across roads into other subdivisions. Is this generally acceptable to do in suburban areas? It depends on the road and depends on what you find when you get over there, and that's why we are, you know, beat you over the head about saying drive your comps, drive your comps, drive your comps.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in this example, I know the house you're talking about, the one I lost some money on. You know, you really can't get that far away from it. I actually didn't lose money on it. I sold it on owner finance with 35 grand down, but for now I'm out money. I'll end up doing fine in the long run, but. So yeah, I mean, it just depends. You just have to drive the comps. If you don't think that you know, again, we always teach, don't try to be a desktop appraiser because you can't.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you know, if you go across the street from Marsh or go north on Royal, I think there's a different product. So you just, I just kind of just expand on what Tim says. You just got to drive these, and you know, when we were on the bus trip, the first bus trip, I mean, you could tell when you go a couple streets, there's a different builder type, and so the biggest thing is trying to find like kind comps. and to verify that. Really, that's why we tell you you've got to go and, before you go on, you knock on the door for your first appointment, you should have already driven the comps. And you have a clear understanding of which comps you can use and which ones you can toss out.
Amen. So question 3, you notice Chris had all the questions at the beginning. I had to kind of give people a hard time. Tax value is somewhat meaningless for determining property value. Agreed. It's used to collect taxes or may not have any relationship to the value of the property. How do you explain this to a new investor if he's hung up on the tax roll value? For example, if the property appraised for 75, but all the when he says property appraised, if it's on the tax rolls it's 75,000, comps are showing 110. Well, if you have an investor that's arguing with you about that, my reply is you got one of two things. One, a guy that's trying to beat you up because he thinks you're new and inexperienced, or you've got a guy that's new and inexperienced and probably isn't going to be able to buy the house at the end of the day anyway. Most cash buyers I've ever met actually know how to assess property value. But I mean, you can tell them, hey, do you own a house? Has the appraiser ever knocked on the door and went inside to take a look at it? I mean, George, you got anything to say on that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I would just tell them, look, our business is based on what we see is what the market is today, and the appraisal district, they use, blanket appraisals, and so it's just not accurate. If you want to know what the true value is, look and see what other houses have sold for in the last 3 to 6 months. That's it. I mean, that's how you determine what that market's doing right now. So, I don't know when the last time, and nobody comes in and walks these properties. I think it's the same thing. So, the bottom line is that's what I would tell. I would tell homeowners, and I would tell other investors.
All right, you want number 4?
Yeah, let's see. How do you figure out the dollar per square foot for rehab? Can we learn to find these figures ourselves by talking to contractors? Also, do these costs account for labor costs to install, picture, or form? So, I think that, these are general rules of thumb. Paint, flooring. Can we learn to find these figures ourselves by talking to contractors? I mean, obviously by getting quotes, but these are general rules. This is what you shouldn't be paying more than $2 a foot. Now that's, if you have to re-sheetrock and tape and bed and there's a lot of cracks, then it might go up a little bit. But even that, I think $2 has some room in it for, general, filling in cracks and taping and bedding and things like that. So this is what I would, Tim and I want you guys to kind of, add in. I mean, you can see that it adds, you can get to $10 pretty quick. And I, as a general rule, Chris, if you told me, hey, I've got a house that's built in 1990 or 1980, I'm automatically going to think $10 a square foot, probably more like 13. You know what I mean? So your general rule is something that's built in the 90s and newer, $10. But that doesn't, if the roof, HVAC, plumbing, and foundation, those are the big 4. So always add on to $10, if it needs one of those 4 items: plumbing, roof, HVAC, and foundation. All right, so that's what I internalize when someone calls me with a deal. All right, Tim, is your postcard mail-out system ready to go?
Yeah. If you look at the screen, you go to portal.investordirectmail.com. You put your username and password in there. You log in.
Now, what if they don't have a username and a password? Do all the FTC students have one, or they need to call? How does that work, Tim?
They should, and if they don't have a username and password, they just need to send me an email, and I will send them the hidden link to register. That link is hidden. for a reason. And if you're having a problem, just send me an email, and I will check out your registration and see what the problem is. But no, it's up. It's ready. I mean, it's been live since December. I've completed 12 orders. I've purchased a list. I've got a draft in here. I mean, you go into my completed orders, you've got 7,900 cards, 136 letters, 5,800 cards, 170 letters. And, I mean, 169, 6,600, 5,600, 154. I mean, what else I got? 65, 56, 134, 3450, 420. I mean, it's up. It works. I mean, it may not be something that you can plug into and just think and have it do exactly what you want, but it's definitely simple enough to figure out and work. So if you don't have a username and password, send me an email and I'll get you hooked up. And if you're not,
is it going to be? We're coming out with a different version, Dwight. At the first part of June, we got pushed back because our provider is switching us over to a more robust front end, and so that's going to take a few weeks to wire up. But it's going to be, I would tell you that it's going to be even more user friendly and intuitive, and we're going to have more. We're going to have more product lines for you to choose. I think, one of the things, anyway, we're going to have different product lines and more cash for houses, black and whites. I think that there's a bunch of, there's about 4 different templates that we're looking at that I think we're going to incorporate into the latest launch, which is going to probably be, what, Tim, middle of June now?
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably be middle of June, but what you as the FTC students need to understand is you don't need to go opt into the site. It's not different than what we're already providing you. You've got access to this stuff for the amount of time designated in all of your different memberships, depending on when and where and how you signed up. And most of you are, a lot of you were part of the first wave, and you're on. If you've got questions about how long your access to FTC is, you can email us, and we'll clarify that for you. There'll be a point in a couple months where some of you will need to pay monthly fees, but
if you want to continue,
yeah,
if you want access, yeah, you're going to have to pay. If you want to still continue to have access to the FTC portal, our membership portal, if you want to be on these coaching calls, and if you want access for investor direct mail.
And if you end up deciding that you don't want the FTC coaching calls or portal, you can drop that, and then you can pay for just the direct mail, which we hope we're good enough teachers that one day you'll not need to pay us a monthly fee for this, that you'll need to pay us a monthly fee to use our awesome direct mail product.
Here.
So, do you ever buy your leads from melissadata.com? I was wondering if you can control your duplicates so that you don't have to buy so many duplicates. I've never heard of it, so I can't answer that question.
Yeah. I mean, I think basically, yeah, I haven't ever bought it. I've heard of it, and, there's some guys saying, hey, here's where you get your leads. But I think, if it's kind of like CoreLogic, or if it's anything, I mean, duplicates are, I mean, if you put in Heritage Homes, or you put in, George Roddy, or, DFW BJRI, I mean, you're going to get duplicates. That's just comes with the territory. You can, I think that you could set, once you buy those, I really would look at, okay, I would probably say that, Tim, I don't know if you'd agree with this, but probably only about, 15% would have duplicates. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and it just depends. I mean, if they own multiple properties in your target area, I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, it's going to send you every record that fits your criteria, and if that individual owns 10 properties, you're going to pay for his name 10 times because
Right.
he owns 10 properties.
Yeah.
So, Dwight, you're asking, do we have a good real estate attorney we can recommend? That's a open-ended, loaded question. I recommend you get into the portal and you watch all the Brian Dunklin videos. And after you've done that, if you can, get in the portal in the Q&A and tell us what it is you're actually looking for as far as an attorney. I mean, if you need LLC, if you need a complicated trust, I mean, it's up in the air. I mean, I have several I can recommend, yes, to answer your question. I just don't know what you need a recommendation for, and I don't know if you know what you need a recommendation for.
I always tell people, where can you hire a free attorney? I mean, I always start off my how to buy foreclosure class, Tim. Where do you get free legal advice, right? And the answer is your title company. That is my answer. At the end of the day, I don't know of any title company that doesn't have attorneys that work there. Do you?
Nope.
Tim?
That's part of the deal.
Part of your power team, dream team, real estate team, whatever you want to call it, is to have a title company that will jump through hoops for you. And they are all run by attorneys. So you need to, Dwight, if you don't have a relationship with a good title company, you need to, mosey on down to one of 17 locations that Adobe Title has. So Adobe Title, look them up online, and, I think that's what you need to do is figure out, they're not going to work for free forever, but they want your business. All right, is there anything we can do to generate income while we're waiting for our direct marketing to kick in? All right. I think you could, what I would do, and
hang on. I got to stop. You've sent 2,000 pieces with no response. Mm-hmm. As in zero? I mean, I mean, not even a phone call someone telling you to take you off their list. I mean, I like to make sure that we're, apples to apples, but I mean, no response. Okay, so Carlos, you've sent 4,000 pieces and had not even had someone call you with a take me off the list. Are you getting any return pieces back in the mail? Anything? Carlos?
Yeah, he's down at the bottom. No response, no 2,000 pieces. Yeah.
Hey, Carlos, can you hear me? Carlos,
can you hear you?
Yeah. I unmuted. Okay, you've gotten 26 rejects back. Are you mailing through the portal?
Yes, Investor Direct Mail.
Yeah, please do me a favor and forward me the receipts that you received via email, and I can have them send me a copy of the list that were sent out. I just want to take a look at that, if you would. I mean, you should have got at least one phone call. Have you proofed it? I mean, are you putting the right phone number on there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've double-checked it.
Okay. Well, send me the receipts that you have from the orders, and I'm going to look at the pieces that were mailed, and then I'm also going to look at the list. I mean, where did you get the list, Carlos?
FLS.
Okay. Which list did you order?
It was the combination 65 and over, high equity, and absentee owner.
Okay, and you're sending 1,000 at a time?
That's correct, yeah. I sent 1,000 about the beginning of each month, last month, and again this month.
Okay. Well, I mean, when you're using a highly targeted list like that, I mean, that seems like a highly targeted list. I mean, and with 1,000 pieces, you probably shouldn't expect to buy a house, but I would think you would get a call or two. So at least. So let me, I mean, I'll look at it. But again, that's one of the reasons, I mean, it's not alarming, but I am going to look into it just to make sure there's not a problem on either end. So, okay, I'm going to mute you back. I got a good picture of that. Just make sure you forward me the receipts from the portal. So what can you do to generate income while you're waiting? That's the question at hand.
Right. So, Carlos, one suggestion is for you to drive your backyard. You know, I think that, number one, I think you kill two birds with one stone. Number one, Tim, you remember when we were driving those comps on the first bus trip and we stopped the bus because we saw an ugly house? We saw a vacant house. And I'm thinking that, you know, number one is you find leads. You find people, and I want you to, Carlos, get out of the car, and I want you to take a picture of that house like I did when we were on the bus trip. And then I want you to go back to your house, jump on your computer, put in that address on the Dallas County or whatever county appraisal district. Let's find out if they're living somewhere else or if the mailing address is that actual property. I want you to mail them a picture letter template. And let me show you, Tim, can you give me the presenter? Can you change and let me show the screen?
It's all yours.
All right. So here is Tim, I don't know if you'll recognize this house. So is this your property?
It was.
Basically, Carlos. No, what I'm saying, yeah. But basically, the other day I was driving by 2508 Led Away and noticed it appeared to be vacant. If you have any interest in selling fast as is and with zero commissions and closing costs, I would like to buy it. That's called a picture letter. You know, I've gotten a much better, Tim, response when I mail this letter versus a postcard. Now, the problem is, it's more labor intensive. We can't incorporate this into the IDM, which is the Investor Direct Mail portal. But will you mail this to a homeowner that's living in South Dakota, and it gives them a clear, defined picture that they have a problem. So you're focusing on the pain, and you're letting them know, and that's how people think. Most of us think one of two things, pleasure or pain, and most of us, it's just common for us to focus on pleasure, right? That's just common nature, but this focuses on the pain that they still have this house, and obviously this is a picture I took of the foundation, but being worked on, and so you take a picture with the grass, 2.5 feet high, that there's a car parked in front, something like that, and it brings it home. And so, Carlos, what I would do is, number one, find ugly but occupied or vacant properties, come back to the office, find out the mailing address, and then come in here and incorporate this template and mail out 50 of them, every month. You could even put this on the envelope. You could have and put that, have a little thumbnail image like this. So before they even open it, Tim, they see there's a picture of their house, and everybody knows what their house looks like. But on the envelope, you just have a picture of the house, and they're going to open up that envelope. I guarantee you they're going to open. I would say 90% of them are going to open up because they know that's their house, and that's not that's not what their house looked like when they bought it. Does that make sense, Carlos? Number two is, you're getting to know with the area. So I think it's twofold. You get to know the war zone streets, you get to know, and you get to find leads. So when people do call you, you know the streets. Just like Tim, I can mention a street, and he's like, yeah, I bought one there 2 years ago. Someone mentions the subdivisions, I'm like, yeah, that's Pulte, and that's, those are that Pulte and Syntax. Okay, I know the product.
So you asked me a question, Carlos. Now I'm going to ask you and everyone else a question. So everyone that's looking at a computer screen, let me know your answer. Okay, 27% of you know how to click on the screen.
Wait a minute.
We're at 47%. Okay, 53% of you have clicked. You have to click either the little bubble next to yes or the bubble next to no. We're almost to 70%, which means 33% of you have not voted.
I'm one of those, Tim.
You're not
I don't know
allowed
how
to
do it.
You're not allowed to vote. You're an organizer and a panelist.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so 3/4 of the 73% that voted said yes. Okay, and it's something I've been toying around with. I've thought about putting together a full course on it. I mean, just to be blunt with you, it's one of those things that it had to be worth my time. So that's just a quick poll. It'd be a couple-hour course because my goal would be to teach y'all how to do it. And then if you don't have the money or the ability to manage the mailing, it's something that I could pay you referral fees for just bringing me the leads kind of thing and get you involved in the process. But just a poll of curiosity. So we'll close that poll, and there's the results. So it's something I'll look into. No promises. Are you laughing at me?
Yes. When you say, I'm just looking into it, you know.
Well, I mean, you know, it's supply and demand 101. Don't go out and create the supply before you have the demand.
Well, that was a pretty good, poll right there.
So Tom, you said, Tim, you said you market to owner occupants. Yes, I market to owner occupants and absentee owners and probates and anybody that could possibly have enough equity to sell me their house. But I think you're talking about when I said I wholesaled that house to an owner occupant. Yeah, in some of these cheaper neighborhoods where the wholesale price can be $20,000 to $30,000, I love sticking a sign, putting some signs around and looking for someone driving around with a duffel bag full of cash and then wholesaling the house to them. And then you said, does that mean all owners in a certain area who meet a certain criteria, high equity? Yeah, I mean, Tom, inside the program, you should be able to hear me talk about it all the time, that 15 years or more, certain value, certain size, that's what I go after. George Randy's asking an interesting question.
Yeah. Are pre-foreclosure leads a good lead to use, and what is the timing and suggested mailing times? So, yeah, I mean, because we're a pretty fast foreclosure state, you have to, you know, I think that these are, you know, there's two types of sellers. There's distressed sellers and there's motivated sellers. So you've got, you know, the pre-foreclosures are definitely distressed. And so bottom line is 18 and 11. Just write down 18 and 11. I think that, you know, it would be a good thing to mail to people in your backyard that are posted for foreclosure. You can, you know, segregate your list to only focus on the high equity leads and try to send out 2 mail pieces within that 21-day period. You know, I bought houses the day before the auction by mailing, you know, on the second one. So 18 days before and 11 days before. Those, you know, I think you can get really segment and mail 2 of them, and, you know, there might only be 70, you know, 70 or 150. You gotta mail out at least 125. Is that correct, Tim? No matter what.
It's like 105 or 110.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a second, because Cheryl, to answer you, I'm going to jump around a little bit in these questions because there's some good stuff going on here. Cheryl, the quantity and prices should be the same in the new direct mail program. And then Brian Cunningham, Brian, I unmuted you. Is your microphone working?
Yes.
What are you getting an error on? Brian said that he's having an error in the direct mail thing, and we're changing the support function in forums for that. So I apologize you haven't gotten a response from them. We're in the process of changing everything over this month. What are you getting an error on?
Right at when you open the cart, I have right before I check out, I just get a straight error message. So I can't check out, but you can add more items to the cart. But no matter what I do, I just can't check out.
Okay. You see something. Are you ordering a list or?
No, I was doing the rec mail postcards and the letter.
Okay, so you're not ordering a list. You just you uploaded your own leads.
Yes.
Okay, so let me get in here. Let me.
I can send you an I guess an email or of the screenshot if you want. I mean,
Yeah, if you can send me a screenshot, that would be just fantastic.
Okay. What is the email?
Just Tim at dfwinvestors.com will be fine.
Okay.
So let's see. In progress orders.
I'll take the next one.
Okay. Yeah, send me that screenshot and we'll get on that right now. And guys, I mean, Brian, number one, thank you for trying to use the portal, but you know, it is still in the beta mode. I haven't had any problems with it, but I love hearing that you did have problems. We're in the process of setting up a support forum that you guys all have access to, more tutorials, and a dedicated support phone number and email address. So we're in the process of switching all that over, but you know, just please be patient. But I mean, again, I'm not having a problem with it. So which one do you want to take, George?
Well, I'll take Chris's about the option period.
Okay.
So the question is, when putting a house under contract with the seller's disclosure notice has a built-in 7-day option period by state law. That's really in the that's in the contract. You're correct that it says basically until the seller delivers the seller's disclosure notice to you, you have, I think it's 7 days after that, for even if you don't have an option period. So now banks are exempt from that, and you can do that yourself and say, you know, I do not need it. This contract is written, and I do not need a 7-day. I waive the right to get a seller's disclosure. But so, yeah, the question was, don't I have 7 days even if I don't pay for an option period? Legally, yeah, you do. Until they deliver you, then the clock starts ticking. You have 7 days to terminate. So
now, to answer the other part of that question, though, Chris, if you give them 5 days to deliver it, it's in option B in that paragraph, and they don't deliver it, you have to request it in writing. Otherwise, you're getting into a murky water that, since we're talking legally, if you didn't request it again or insist on receiving it, you can leave yourself vulnerable to what's called satisfaction and accord, meaning that they didn't deliver it, but you didn't want it. So since we're talking legally, that is a vulnerability. So, I mean, that's why George and I just recommend that everything be upfront and in writing. You don't try to use any hidden clauses.
all right. What if you can't get good comps of comparable sales going back 6 to 12 months? Tim, property you and I discussed as an example. So I guess you and Randy were trying to comp this house and you couldn't find any comps.
Yeah, I mean, he had a very specific house that was on Duck Creek in Garland that backed up to the creek, and there were probably only 10 other houses that were comparable. So, yeah, I mean, it was a tricky one. And, you know, something like that, you have to try to find like kind, or if it backs up to the creek, you got to go a couple miles out and find another house that backs up to another creek about the same year built. Because a green belt or a creek is definitely one of those, it's a gray elephant. It's worth the money. It's not a white elephant. So, I mean, it's tricky. And, again, that's where I've just got to default and go back to saying that this is an art, not a science.
All right, whether you're on the phone or at the table with the seller, how do you explain to them that you're assigning this contract to an end investor? From the marketing material we send out, they might get the impression that they might have a problem because they're thinking, wait a minute, I thought you were buying this in cash. What's this about assigning it to an investor? So, Chris, I think one option would be, look, I'm part of a group that buys houses. The reason why I have this assignment in here is because I'm writing it in my name, but I might assign it to one of my partners. At the end of the day, we are committed, no matter what, we're committed to closing and funding this deal based on the terms and the conditions of this contract. So whether it's my name or one of my partners' name, at the end of the day, the final score will be what we're writing here. So that's one way that you could do it. Another is, hey, I might put this, for asset protection purposes, there's a good chance I'm going to put this in a different trust, or I'm going to put it in a family trust, and I don't have that created right now, so I want to have the right to assign it to one of my entities.
I just tell people, hey, I'm not Donald Trump. I didn't come from money. I work for my money, and one of the ways I conduct my business is to bring on private investors to fund my transactions. But, I mean, it's one of those things that I never really discuss it when I'm writing the contract, because it doesn't need to be discussed as long as you're making a good offer that you feel like you can uphold, you can get done. And if you don't feel like you can get it done, you got to get an option.
Tim, I'm curious, for you, and this isn't a question that I think anyone's asked, but talk to me and tell them, how do you, as far as negotiating your price,
Yeah.
how do when you make an offer, is your general rule you're uncomfortable when you're doing it? And if not, I've offered too much. I mean, I've heard other people say that, but do you come in and there's always a little bit of wiggle room, or are you trying to put your best foot forward on your initial offer?
It depends on the situation. If it's something I feel like I'm going to be in an active bidding war, I always try to get real close to what I feel that my max is going to be, just so I don't price myself out of the
consideration.
Yeah, the consideration. And then, if I feel like I've got a good chance to get it, you should always feel embarrassed when you make the offer. One of the modules in the portal is Psychology of a Seller, where we really walk you through a lead process, and it's audio of everything that was said on the appointment. And when I made the offer, and the guy just goes, yeah, I think that's fair. And I thought for sure he was going to bounce me out of the house when I made the offer. I mean, instead I ended up buying it, and ended up that was the second house I'd bought that day, because I don't know if I even never told you this, George. I was on my way. I went to that house right after I left away for the first time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to feel embarrassed and like you're kind of low on your offer when you're making one. So if a seller does owe money on the property, How do you calculate it? How do you verify the amount? Those are good questions. However, what a seller owes should not affect the way you make your offer until they tell you, well, look, I owe less than that. And then that's where, if they owe less than what you need to offer on an all-cash assignment, that's where you need to flip around and go into the, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, that's a little high. The only way I know to get that done would be to get someone to take over your payments. Is that something you'd be interested in? And at that point, they're either going to say yes or no. And then if they say no, say, well, unfortunately, this is where I'm at. But no, there's nothing that has to do with what is owed against the property on the SOS, because it doesn't need to be.
Has anybody tried soliciting an area with door knocking? Say that again?
I have. That's an interesting topic, and that's part of driving for dollars and being out in the field. You can get your business cards, you can get little flyers made up, you can get door hangers made up, and as you're driving your target neighborhoods, you can simply knock on the door and see what they got going on. And a lot of times the motivated sellers, the houses that we buy, aren't actually going to have someone home. And if they do, they're probably not going to answer the door because they may think that you're a bill collector, but the neighbors are a great resource.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, I knocked on thousands of foreclosure doors, Dwight, and pre-foreclosure, distressed, and what I found is I took them by, they were embarrassed. It's one thing to be going through the situation of your house being posted for foreclosure. That in itself is, causes some serious, distress, and the emotional is, but then when I knock on their door, it takes it to a new level, because it's one thing for you to be going through it, Tim. It's another when I knock on your door and I know that you're going through it. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So now it's kind of enhanced. Yeah, and that's where they go through denial, all the different emotions of they're angry at me now. And so
in 10 years, 10 years, I did that once, George, and only once.
Yeah. I would say I don't do that after, 1,000 houses knocking on doors, and I got like 10 houses. I'm like, it just wasn't worth. And I got the same emotions. It's, they were angry, denial, and so I just said, you know what? I'd rather let them raise their hand or call me, because they called me. I'm going to put myself, and it's kind of like you do the advertising, and some people are ready now and some people aren't.
Well, George, did you announce the winner of the website contest?
I did, yeah, but Carlos, I don't think he was there. Carlos, were you there last night?
Guess not. So, Carlos, from the websites that we did 2 weeks ago, you're the one that, well, I guess you should have been there.
I know, see? Yeah.
I'll have to go back. Was be present to win part of one of the conditions? I don't know.
I'm going to have to look at the fine print.
Yeah. Carlos, go ahead and contact me, and you're going to get $100. So, that's one way to generate income. Do what we teach you. And I don't have any contests for this week because I was fishing. So, one more question, then we're going to have to sign off. What are some clues that the subject property has plumbing issues? I know you mentioned an FTC module in the house. Looks like it's swelled in the middle. Do you have any picture examples of this? No, because, Chris, it's very difficult to take a picture of it. One of the ways you can look at it, and the first time I ever looked at it was I think the house was 4674 Harper and Mesquite. I'd already bought it, and a mentor friend of mine walked up to the front and looked up and said, "What are you going to do about the sewer leak?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he was looking at the ridge line. So, the middle of the roof, if it's one of those typical straight ridge lines across these old houses, if you see a kind of a mound sticking out amongst through the top, that's a good sign that there's an upheaval. The rest is walking it. When you see sheetrock the tops of walls that look like they've literally been shoved through the ceiling. That's a good example of heaving. In these Fox and Jacob houses where the house is on trusses, if there's literally a portion of the inside wall that has separated from the slab and you can see daylight underneath the wall, that's a good sign that there's been some sort of plumbing leak underneath it. Those are just the ones off the top of my head. If it has cast iron pipes and has been sitting vacant for 6 years,
there's a good chance, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we're done with questions for the day. I hope everybody got all their advertising out for May. I was late on mine, but that was by choice. Just a reminder, you guys, when you see all this stuff about Investor Direct Mail, you do not need to sign up. You do not need to. It's included in your membership to flip that contract. And make sure you go to these investor. I mean, when George hosts a huge investor club meeting and invites someone that he respects to be a speaker, take the most of it and go eat a free dinner, network with sponsors, vendors, other like-minded investors, and get some more education. The education cycle in this business never stops learning, or never stops going. I mean, you can't become complacent, and you can't be impatient. Some of the most successful investors I've ever met are those that are involved in multiple things and always out learning and growing individually. If you're having problems, let us know. We're here to help. But if you haven't watched every single module, I'm going to tell you all as a closing shot. I'm going to tell you about our two most successful students. And our two most successful students, FTC. I'm going to show you guys real quick, George. I'm only going to take another 2 minutes.
Okay.
All right, my screen is showing. So I'm going to tell you about our two most successful students. As of March, this guy, as of March 1st, had only done one deal. I got to hit the right button this time. And as of today, he's closed 3 in 4.5 months. He's one of those he's on every call. He comments on the portal. He watches module multiple times. He downloads all the videos. I mean, Eric gets it. He gets it that we know more than he does about this business, and that he needs to soak it up. And then our next most successful student, in my personal opinion, at least next most successful that actually tells us about what he's doing within specific items, is Jim Rosting. Jim is another one that is on every call. He comments and asks questions and sends emails and things like that. And just a couple weeks ago, Jim had a house, had a seller call him about 2 houses that the seller had in Garland. And Jim and I went out and looked at the houses, made an offer on the spot, got the houses wrapped up, and sold the houses to one guy. And in as little as, I think it was about 2 weeks, Jim had $7,000 in his pocket. So it's just another example of, Jim spending, he's sending out about 2,000 cards a month and has been for 6 months. But, those 2,000 cards don't cost a whole bunch of money, and he's been able to put over $14,000 in his pocket this year. Now, is that going to be enough to sustain Jim over the long haul if he's only averaging $42,000 a year in income with $24,000 a year in expenses? No. But you know, it's kind of like I always remind people this is a business, and very few businesses are profitable within the first 2 months. And when I mean profitable, I mean they've got all their money back plus some, and very few are profitable in the first 6 months. And what we're telling you is you should be profitable if you stick to the system and you do everything that we recommend. And if you don't feel like you're in a position to do it on your own, get me and George involved in what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's it for now. I got to run. It's 1:08. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
All right. See you guys.